Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on this Monday. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Parker, at the very least, is back in our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. I am in Memphis today. Vandy women's basketball getting ready to start their season exhibition today in the Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic. So I'll be on the air 5:15 over 94.9 The Fan, but coming to you from the hotel today. And this will happen a couple times throughout the season. Parker, how's it going? How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. The Vols got a big win over Kentucky. It was nice to see the offense kind of looking like 2022 again. Vandy got a big win over Missouri. I was at College Game Day on Saturday, my first time ever.
Me too.
It was a fantastic scene. Glad that Vanderbilt really showed out. And then the Titans lost, and then went right back down to where I was before.
See, it's just a normal weekend at this point.
Right.
I mean, we go in with the expectation that the Titans lose, and yesterday they lived up to that expectation for the seventh time this season. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. It is a Reaction Monday. We want to hear from you. You can text or call our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. That Titans game yesterday, kind of similar to what we've seen in a lot of these games where they're hanging in there a little bit, right? Like it wasn't over at halftime. You're down 17-7. You had just missed a field goal that could have got you within one score, but you weren't playing well. And then you get the opportunity early in the third quarter. It's 4th and 3. You're on the Indy 42, and you decide to punt. And the football gods, they were not kind to the I saw the coward index or whatever said it was in the 99th percentile of cowardice punts. And 80 yards later, Jonathan Taylor's in the end zone. And then the game is over. It's a tough look for Mike McCoy there. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, and we'll hear from him later talking about that decision and that, yeah, if you could have gone back, for sure, that's one that you would go for it on. But man, 4th and 3, you're almost in field goal range. You're down 10. You're 1-6. What do you have to lose? And that, you lost the game 38-14. It was 38-7. That's not a decision that lost you the game, but it did feel like the turning point in the game where it went from, hey, the Titans are kind of hanging in there to, all right, same old. Titans are going to lose by 20.
And my mindset is, Jake, this roster is so depleted that there's only so much you can do. You can look competitive for a half. We saw that against the Patriots, but once they get a big run like the Jonathan Taylor 80-yard touchdown, that's the back-breaking play. So you can compete for a half, but after that, and that's a large chunk of that is due to the roster. But if you're going to go down swinging, go for it on that 4th down. There was no reason to punt the football, and I think we all agree on that.
Right. I mean, this is a team that you're not competing for much at this point in the season. Even if you won out, you're 10-7, and obviously that's not going to happen. You just need to go get some momentum. And you could see Cam Ward, if you can read lips, you could tell what he said as he's coming off the field. And I get it. You're not going to compete for a playoff spot this year. There's no reason to be conservative. Take a chance. And guess what? If you don't get it, it's not like they have the ball at your own 25-yard line. They still would have been at their own 42 or maybe a little bit further. So it's tough. It's tough to see this team playing like they have something to lose when they clearly do not. Again, you're 1-7. I did hear Robbie and Rexroad talking about how it was a good day for the Titans in terms of draft odds yesterday. The Jets helped out the Titans, and I started to wonder, you saw Jarvis Brownlee Jr., he made the breakup that ended up winning the game for the Jets. Are the Titans playing the long game here, trying to send a decent rising player to the Jets so that they win a couple of games this season and the Titans end up getting a higher draft pick? If we're going to go full conspiracy theory here. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. The Titans, this is a bad football team. It really is. And it's even more obvious when you don't have the few players who are actually established veterans on this team on the field. Like they couldn't stop the run to save their lives yesterday, and Jeffrey Simmons isn't on the field. You'd think Tavondre Sweat being back healthy would help that a little bit more, but clearly not so much. And Jonathan Taylor, he might win the Offensive Player of the Year just for his 2 performances against the Titans this year. Is that what, 6 touchdowns for him against the Titans this season?
I believe so. I believe that's right. They were mentioning all these stats on the broadcast yesterday. What Jonathan Taylor has done, not just against the Titans, but in general, is special.
No, he has been unbelievable this season, and he is reminding everyone who he is because he was in the conversation for best running back in football 3-4 years ago, right around the time that Derrick Henry was probably the best running back in football with the Titans. And then he got some injuries, wasn't quite the same guy for a couple of years, but yeah, he is projected this season to end the year with 1,800 rushing yards, 26 rushing touchdowns, 438 receiving yards, and 4 receiving touchdowns. So a grand total of almost 2,300 scrimmage yards and 30 touchdowns. I think that would do the trick for Offensive Player of the Year. Unbelievable.
If a running back gets 30 touchdowns, I might vote you for MVP.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like he has been that good, and the Titans had no answers for him yesterday. Now, on a couple of his touchdowns, you got to tackle. Like this is the NFL, and I know he's a really good player, but the 80-yard touchdown, Woods and Hooker both had chances. I mean, he's tiptoeing the sideline. If you make any contact with him whatsoever, he's going to get out of bounds. You got to make a play there. And then the last one where it looked like they had him wrapped up, and he pulled his leg, and he was able to make the play. So it's tough. It is tough for the Titans to stop the Colts, to stop Jonathan Taylor, to get out of their own way, and it ended with a 38-14 loss. Titans now 1-7. One more game before the bye week mercifully comes in week 10, and we get a Sunday off of watching the Titans lose. Chargers coming up this weekend. They haven't been great. They did get a bounce back win over the Vikings on Thursday, but overall, I don't know if the Titans could beat anybody in the NFL. Speaking of game day, Parker, you were out there. There were lots of signs saying Vandy could beat the Titans. I saw at least 2 or 3 of
so many signs.
A couple other fans decided to go with the "we not ass," so we kind of expected that one to be out there. But the Titans, they could beat Vanderbilt. I'm always on the side of any pro team could beat any college team, but the Titans, I don't know if I would pick them to beat any NFL team at this point in the season with the way they've played. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Again, it is a Reaction Monday. Phone lines are open. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 6641, our resident friend from Memphis, he says, glad to be here with you fellas. Jake hit Corky's Barbecue, the barbecue place, or Gus's Fried Chicken. There's my recommendations I asked for. Yes, I don't know if I'll be able to make it out there today. We're heading over to the arena early afternoon, mid-afternoon. We did go to Huey's last night. Parker, have you ever been to Memphis before?
I have been to Memphis, and it's only been for football games in high school because we played a lot of teams over in Memphis. I can't remember the restaurants they'd take us to pregame, but there was one restaurant that I had the best turkey leg that I've ever had in my life. It was a really bad decision because it was huge, and it was right before a football game. Did not sit well.
We have a resident Memphian. Is that the correct terminology? On the coaching staff, and she suggested there's Huey's is close to our hotel, so we went there and got a burger. It was very good. But if I have some time, maybe I'll head over to one of those places for lunch. 615-737-1025. 7988 says 3 touchdowns per game for 4 straight games against the Titans is the stat that the broadcast gave. Yeah, I heard them say. Who was on the call yesterday? Was it Spiroditis? I mean, that would make sense, right? Whoever it was said history and 3 straight games against the Titans with 3 rushing touchdowns, and then they called it a pass because Daniel Jones flipped it to him. So either way, Jonathan Taylor, a certified Titan killer, and he did it again yesterday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll get to some of your texts, and you can also call in. Our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Titans, if you're looking for any kind of silver lining yesterday, the rookies did at least show some flashes on the offensive side of the ball. I thought Cam Ward had a decent day. Chim DK, back-to-back big games. We'll talk about those guys coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on this Monday morning. Next man up here on 102.5 The Game. That was Cam Ward after the game yesterday, talking about the near miss on a third down with Alec Iamaner. Almost a big play, could have been a touchdown. Overshot him a little bit. And, looking back at the replay, I think Iamaner maybe pulled up on his route out of the break just a bit too. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5, the game on this Monday. Parker, your thoughts on that play? I saw on Twitter yesterday, everybody was trying to blame one guy or the other. It was either 100% Cam's fault or 100% Alec's fault. It's probably a little bit on both. Cam Ward, yeah, I think you put a little air under it. Alec can adjust, or if you put it on him like Cam said, I still think that could have been a big play. But you can clearly see when you watch Alec Iamaner run that route that he did not think the ball was coming his way, started jogging a little bit, and then had to put the Jets back on to try and catch up with it after the ball was thrown by Cam.
It's one of those things where it's not completely one or the other. It's really simple. Cam probably should have put it on him, but also with Iamaner, it's a deal where he probably heard the footsteps or didn't think the ball was coming to him, like he said, and just kind of started jogging the route and then realized, oh, that ball is coming to me. So it's not one person's fault or the other. There's plenty of blame to go around on that.
Yeah, the missed opportunity there. Iamaner had an up and down day. He had another drop later on in the game, but also did make some plays for Cam Ward. So, it hasn't been quite as consistent since early on in the season for Iamaner, but you're still seeing those flashes of what could be a productive receiver at the NFL level. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Carl P. wants to chime in. Carl, thanks for calling. What you got for us this morning?
Well, this morning, good morning, and thanks for taking the call. I listened to a lot of football over the years, and of course, I know the Titans right now are stinking it up. But at the same time, of course, across town, Vanderbilt is living it up. But staying with the Titans. The Titans, Cam is young. He's had a long season this far, and I do really think that y'all look for the Titans to flip it in the second half of the season. I really do think that our defense will wake up, and that's all I got on the Titans. But on the Vanderbilt side of the things, go Doors. But really, I do think that our Commodores are literally older than the Titans right now. So go Doors. And I really do think that the Vanderbilt is more mature than the Tennessee Titans at this point. And come on, playoffs, go Doors, and boost up the Titans. And that's my pitch. Carl P. from Middle Tennessee.
Thanks for the call, Carl. Good points on both. The Titans. There is a lot of youth, especially when you don't have guys like Calvin Ridley and Jeffrey Simmons and L'Jarius Sneed on the field. So they did have to play with a lot of rookies. Vandy's got some experience over there. They're one of the older teams across college football. We'll get to Vandy's win over Missouri on Saturday because that was a crazy game. Vandy staying in the college football playoff conversation. Likely just have to go 3-1 to get into the playoff, and they've played well. For the Titans, I'm not sure I expect the second half of the year turnaround. And we'll talk about the rest of the year later on in the show about whether we think they can actually win a game again. It is the NFL. And as we saw in the Cardinals game, like anything can happen and other team looks past you a little bit. You show up one day, you can get a win. But this team doesn't look at the moment like it can beat anybody. Back to the young pass catchers. I want to talk about Chim DK because it is funny how things flip back and forth. And I think I'm guilty of this too, of when they drafted Chim DK, it wasn't the flashy name that was at the top of every best available board. Alec Iamaner was. And so when they drafted Chim, everybody's thinking, oh man, they should have taken Iamaner. And then they get him later on in the draft. And then, of course, Alec comes out and has a great start to the year, and Chim is more a special teamer. And it is funny that in 2 weeks, it has gone from Alec is the future wide receiver who can be a big player for this team to Chim. And I think maybe we look past the speed aspect of Chim Dike because he is using it. They finally started to use him outside of just the screen game. Now they still are using him in the screen game, but they're not just throwing it to him behind the line of scrimmage where he was, what was it, Parker? It was like he had 5 catches for 1 yard, but he had 13 yards after the catch. Like they were only throwing it to him behind the line of scrimmage.
That
And
sounds about
now,
right.
right. And now they're finally opening it up. 7 catches on 8 targets, 93 yards yesterday. He was great again. He caught his first 7 targets of the day. And that's a connection you love to see blossoming with Cam Ward. Now, I don't think Ellick or Chim are ever going to be your wide receiver one, but I think there's a decent chance that they end up being your wide receiver 2 and 3. You need to go find the go-to guy, whether that's, I mean, I think it has to be in the top of the draft. Maybe in free agency or in a trade, you're able to go get somebody, but I think you have to go spend a first or a second round pick on a wide receiver in the next 2 years. But I really like the promise that we're seeing from Chim and Ellick at different times throughout the year. It's going to get more consistent throughout the season, but I really like that we're seeing both of them show flashes and that Cam Ward is getting on the same page with both of them throughout this rookie season.
And even Gunnar Helm, he got involved yesterday. I remember telling TD throughout, off-season training camp and all that. I really believe that Gunnar Helm, it has to mean something that he was drafted around the same time as Cam Ward because it allows them to grow together. And what Gunnar Helm was at Texas was a safety blanket for Quinn Ewers. And I believe he can be that exact same thing for Cam Ward because I don't believe he'll ever be the most talented tight end on the field, but what he's good at pretty much everything. Not elite, but he's pretty much good at everything. And I believe he can be a safety blanket for Cam Ward. And I also believe DK, the way he's been used as of late, is exactly what the Titans need to do. Now we need to see a little bit more from Manor because throughout the offseason, his expectations continue to rise, and he hasn't met those quite yet. But there are signs that he can turn into a pretty solid wide receiver. But I agree with you. They need to go get a wide receiver one.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week of like don't dwell on the scores of these games the rest of the year because if you go in with the expectation that the Titans are going to win, you're just going to be disappointed. But that's what you want to see yesterday is you got to see your rookies and the guys you hope are future key pieces of your offense stepping up and making plays. And I think that's at least a step in the right direction for this offense when you're looking for the long term. And you mentioned Gunnar Helm, first career touchdown on National Tight Ends Day. Give a hand to Gunnar Helm. He should have had 2, though. He should have. And that play at the goal line, that was second and goal, right before Cam threw the pick on 4th down. It wasn't an easy catch. It wasn't. But Cam threw that right where you had to, down and away from the defender at the goal line where only his guy could go get it. It hits Gunnar in the hands. Again, not an easy catch, but one of those that you really hope that your tight end, your safety blanket is going to make. He did make up for it later. He caught that nice pass on the out and up down the sideline from Cam Ward. So again, up and down day for some of these rookies. I thought Chim was really good again. I mean, 160 yards in back-to-back weeks. He might be getting close to leading the Titans in receiving yards.
Doesn't take much, right?
Right. I mean, I saw somebody texted into Robbie and Rexroad and said that the Titans don't have a 300-yard receiver, and they do not. Calvin Ridley has Manor 277, Chig 271. Chim is now at 189 because I guess he was stuck in the teens for a while there before these last couple of games. But they're spreading it around. They got different guys making plays. And again, if you're going to look for some bright spots in this team, it's got to be the young guys that you think you can build around moving forward. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 4626 asks, would love to hear Jake's take on Vandy Women's Hoops without Camille Pierre. I will talk a little Vandy Women's Hoops later on in the show, but I'll give a quick thought on it. Excited for the new year. Coming off back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances, and today just an exhibition, so does not count towards the overall record. But some things to watch for if you're going to watch the game. It's on ESPN, ESPNU or you can listen to me on 94.9 The Fan. Look for Michaela Blake's growth as a sophomore. You got some transfers coming in from SEC schools. Jack Lingham went in Tunda is probably one to keep an eye on. She was on the Final Four team for Texas last year. And keep an eye on the freshman guard, Aubrey Galvin. I think she's going to be a fun player to watch. She's got a lot of creativity in her game as a point guard. So that would be my quick takes on Vandy women's basketball. I think it's going to be another good year, and we'll see what they can do tonight against Memphis over at FedEx Forum for the Hoops for St. Jude Classic. If you're in Memphis listening, come out. If not, you can listen in on 94.9 The Fan. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Talking more Titans on the other side, continuing to recap a 38-14 loss to the Indianapolis Colts yesterday. Also, an interesting name that was brought up about the Titans head coaching search. We'll get to that later in this first hour as well. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on this Monday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. That was Mike McCoy after the game yesterday talking about the decision not to go for it on 4th and 3 from the Indianapolis 42. The Titans weren't going to win that game either way. At least I don't think so. But that was clearly the turning point. It was 17-7. You had moved the football a little bit. Cam Ward had just hit Chig for about a 20-yard play to get across midfield. Get to 4th and 3, you punt it. And one play later, an 80-yard Jonathan Taylor touchdown makes it a 3-score game. And the game is over. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 the game. Mike McCoy, I don't think things have looked all that different than when Brian Callahan was the coach. I do think the play calling has been somewhat better. I think they've at least gotten Cam in some better situations, but clearly the decision making has not gotten all that much better. I don't know why there is such a hesitancy, I guess, from this coaching staff to just let it rip. I mean, you're playing with house money at this point. There is absolutely nothing to lose. You're 1-7 now. Go out there and let it rip. Not saying that you go for it on every single 4th down, but if you're 50-50 and you're not 100% sure, just go for it, because it's not like it's going to have an effect on the outcome of the season anyway. And we saw later in the game they had to go for it. Cam Ward threw the interception in the end zone. That is his 11th turnover of the season. But that one, I would much rather him throw a pick on that play than take a sack. I mean, it's 4th down. Take a chance, throw the ball in the end zone, see what can happen. It got intercepted. It was a nice play by the DB. It's tough to see another turnover on the stat sheet when in that scenario, honestly, an incomplete pass might have even been more productive for the Titans at that point. But interception in the end zone. They got the ball back one more time, got it down there. Tajay Spears was able to get the touchdown. But overall, not a good day for the Titans once again. You're now 1-7. We're talking about some of the rookies who made some plays. Parker, I thought Tajay Spears looked good again. He had the 41-yard run that set up the Titans' first touchdown, scored the second one. He had another nice catch for a first down late in the game. At this point with Tony Pollard, I understand that he's the veteran and, he's given you some productive games over the last couple of years, but Tajay's way more explosive. And at this point, I'd rather see what you got in Tajay than keep running Tony Pollard out there. I'm not saying you trade him, but I'd like to see Tajay Spears get the lion's share of the touches for the rest of the season.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Pollard ended up getting traded at some point. I've seen the Chiefs are potentially in the market for a running back. I've seen Tony Pollard to the Chiefs a lot, rumored as of late. With Tajay Spears, I agree in terms of explosiveness, because if you watched him play at Tulane, you know the type of player that he is. It's just he hasn't been able to stay on the field and be healthy. So that's the downside to all this. Now, if he is healthy, I'd like to see more as well, because I was hoping for more of a 50-50 balance between the two this year, but obviously for health reasons and due to run blocking issues at the line of scrimmage, we just haven't been able to see that.
Yeah, and I do understand the medical questions of, coming out of college. The big story was that Tajay Spears didn't have an ACL in one of his knees, and so maybe that's something that you don't want to load up his touches, or, he did have the sprained ankle early on in the season. Can he handle getting 20 touches a game? But I think he is the more explosive player, and he's a guy who at least you can look at and say, maybe he's a part of our team next year. I don't think Tony Pollard is going to be. Just go full youth movement at this point with the rookie wide receivers and see what you can get out of Tajay Spears at this point. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Trey is on the line. And Trey, I got to ask, I heard your call into Robbie and Rex Road, and you said this is the first time that you have watched Cam Ward play?
This is the first time I've watched Cam Ward play. I've watched Will Levis play maybe a couple times. The last time I started watching the Titans was when I think Tannehill was playing Kansas City, I think we was in the championship game. I was in
Oh,
South
wow.
America for I was in South America for a dental appointment. I can't watch it, man. I'd rather listen to it on the radio and critique it from there. But yeah, that was the first time I saw him yesterday, and he's all right. He's just not good. There's a glimmer of hope there. For him. It's just that he's just not. He's just not ready for this position. Granted, the Titans trying to do everything they can as far as getting him in there. To be a better player, but he doesn't have people around him to help him get to where he needs to be. And I think it seems like to me, man, that they've quit. As far as not individually, but as far as like team wise, it looks like they've quit. And then Miss Amy's not there showing up. You got the owner of the Colts over there on the sideline critiquing, writing notes, high five, and doing things with her team. And I think our owner isn't nowhere to be found. It's pathetic, and yeah. And y'all have a good day. Thank you, Jake. Take care. I appreciate you.
Thank you for the call, Trey.
Holy cow.
I cannot fathom the idea that Trey has been calling in to every show on this station for 2 months before the season even started and bashing Cam Ward without actually having watched him take a snap. Like that is blowing my mind right now.
You can't do that. You can't do that.
I mean, I guess he says that he can analyze how Cam Ward is playing over the radio. Man, if that's true, then I aspire to be the radio play-by-play broadcaster that Taylor Zarzour is. If he can describe it that vividly, that Trey knows exactly what Cam Ward is doing and can analyze the way that he's playing through the radio call. I mean, it's funny. And for Cam Ward, he is one of those guys that you have to see to understand why there's promise there, right? Like you can't just listen to the results and say, oh yeah, I can see, even though he completed 42% of his passes in this game, I can hear that he's got promise. Like you have to watch it and you have to see the throws that he's making that you hope will develop from flashes into a consistently good quarterback. That is so funny. I love that Trey has waited to pull that out. That he hasn't watched a game since the AFC Championship game in 2020 until right now. That makes all of his calls even funnier. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Scott on the text line says, hold up, dude that calls and rips Cam every single week just said that's the first time he's watched him play. Please tell me I didn't hear that right. Yes, you did. Yes,
you 100% did. Your ears work just fine. And
that is
sure enough, that's true.
I mean, I heard him call in and say that to Robbie and Joe this morning and started laughing. But hearing it again and hearing him say that the AFC Championship game is the last time he's watched a Titans game is awesome. Awesome. Great job, Trey. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 7988 says the Colts' new owner is a breath of fresh air in this division on how owners work. And I did want to get to that point from Trey because I actually do agree with Trey that seeing an owner so invested in the team that she's standing behind the head coach and she's not doing anything to interfere with what's going on, but she is that invested that she's there with a notepad taking notes. And maybe it's for show. I don't know. Like, I don't know what she's writing down, but for optics at the very least, that's good, right? Like if we saw Amy every single week at least looking like she was involved and invested in what's going on with the team, I think that would make fans feel a lot better about her making these decisions that affect the long-term future of this football team. And again, I'm not saying she has to be doing exactly what Carly Ursay doing and standing behind Mike McCoy, looking over his shoulder with a notepad, but just be involved and don't be in Houston every single week. Like show that you really care about this moment in the Titans history because it is a big moment. You got a new stadium opening up. You just took a quarterback number 1 overall, and now you got a hole at head coach. this might be one of the most important decisions that you make as an owner for the long-term outlook of this franchise. It'd be nice to see you around and seeming like you're invested in what's going on with your football team. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have thoughts, we'd love to hear from you. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Mondays were made for Macero. Big screens, bold flavors, and all the football action. From queso to kickoffs, this is how Macero does game night. Macero Football Mondays in 12 South. Don't miss a snap. When we come back on Saturday, there was a very interesting report put out there by our good friend Diana Rossini about a possible NFL head coaching candidate. We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circa Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall today prior to the Monday Night Football game. Tonight, the NFL matchup is the Commanders taking on the Chiefs. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on this Reaction Monday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Again, your chance to react to the Titans' loss yesterday, 38-14, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to text or call, we'll talk college football coming up at the top of the hour. Vanderbilt with a big win against Missouri It came down to a couple of inches to decide that game, but Vandy is 7-1 on the year. One last thought on the Titans. On Saturday, there was a report that came out from The Athletic saying that Steve Sarkisian might be interested in taking an NFL head coaching job, including the open Titans job, which is the only open one, which is why I think they were included in that report. But I did want to spend just 5 or 10 minutes on this because it would be an out of the box hire for sure. Steve Sarkisian does have NFL experience. He spent a year with the Oakland Raiders in 2004 as their quarterback coach and spent 2 years as the Atlanta Falcons offensive coordinator in 2017 and 2018. But outside of that, he has not been at the NFL level, and he's never been a head coach at the NFL level. I don't know if I would be behind this if this was something the Titans were looking into. And to be fair, Jimmy Sexton, who has been in the news a lot lately with, Nick Saban talking about the numbers that Miss Terry's seeing, about the offers that he could get to go back to college coaching. They came out and vehemently denied that there was any interest from Steve Sarkisian to go to the NFL. But that is what they would say if they were trying to leverage those jobs into a pay raise at Texas. I don't think he would want to do it. And for the Titans, I don't know if it makes sense. Like, yes, it is out of the box. You're getting somebody who has experience developing quarterbacks, and he's been a head coach before, but never at the NFL level. And I still feel like there would be a little bit of learning on the job when it came to Steve Sarkisian. Being a head coach at the NFL level and the college level are very different. And Parker, I want your thoughts on this too, because I just don't know if it would be the right fit. Sarkisian has a little bit of Mike Vrabel in him, like an offensive Mike Vrabel. I always think of the video of him just screaming at that staffer who touched him when they were coming out of the tunnel a couple of years ago. So I don't know if I'd be behind it, but it would be an interesting decision for sure, and at least would show that the Titans are thinking broadly when it comes to this search and not just looking at the top names being put out there by people like us.
Well, I got to be honest. I think I would like Sark at least to interview with the Titans. I'm not saying I'd want him to be the head coach, but he came out and he addressed those rumors on Saturday, and I know coaches lie all the time, but I believe Sark because he's a very genuine guy, and he doesn't try to fool anybody. He's a straight shooter, and he said that whoever released it was Diana Rossini who released the original report, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, he said basically that whoever pushed the narrative out there was lying and it wasn't true. So I don't believe that this is actually going to happen. But there are plenty of other candidates that I'd rather have for the Titans than Sark.
Yeah, here is the exact report from Diana Rossini on Saturday. I'm told that representatives for Texas coach Steve Sarkisian have let NFL decision makers know that he would be interested in potential head coaching openings, including the Titans. And at times during that Texas-Mississippi State game on Saturday, I think there was a large idea of, hey, you can stay where you are. We don't want you, after they were down 2 touchdowns for most of that game against the Bulldogs, ended up pulling off a second straight overtime win to keep Texas's slim playoff hopes still alive, at least for now, with Vandy coming to Austin on Saturday. 6641 on the text line says, if we're about to talk Sark having interest in the NFL, keep him far away from my Titans. He's a career job hopper, not very successful in the NFL during his OC stint, and has more success as a college offensive coordinator than he does as a head coach. And the rumors are starting the very second he's having a down year at Texas. I think that is a very good point. And he also says if he's head coach for the Titans in 2026, he'll be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State in 2027. And that is a good point. You look at the career going through all the jobs that Steve Sarkisian has. I don't believe he's ever spent more than 5 years in one spot. Washington, he was there from 2009 to 2013. Then he went to USC, spent 2 years there. And this will be his 5th season at Texas. So, if he didn't leave after this year, he would still not have a single stop on his coaching career that he spent more than 5 seasons, which career job hopper, I think would be the right way to put that with Steve Sarkisian. I don't think this is actually something that is going to be entertained. I doubt he would even get an interview, but we have had the conversation about if there is a college coach to go after, who would it be? And Corey Curtis, he's on with us on Wednesdays. He brought up Marcus Freeman, and I think that could at least be interesting if you pair him with the right offensive coordinator. Dan Lanning, obviously, is having a lot of success at Oregon. Maybe Ryan Day would be interested, but I doubt it. I honestly don't think any of these college coaches are going to be interested, at least the ones who would be worth it to bring up to the NFL. Because look at the coaching carousel right now. It's a complete mess, and everybody who doesn't get a new job at whether it's LSU or Ole Miss, or I'm assuming Ole Miss, LSU or Florida or Penn State is going to get a raise because they're going to leverage those jobs against it. So this may not be the year if you're thinking about making a jump from college football to the NFL.
And I like, it's for selfish reasons, I like all these guys in college. I don't want them to come up to the NFL. So I prefer the Titans, and this is purely selfish reasons, but I prefer the Titans to go after somebody who is currently in the league.
Yes, I agree. I think they've got to get somebody who's been an NFL head coach before, who's done it. It's the biggest issues with Brian Callahan, and there were lots of issues with Brian Callahan, but I think the biggest ones were that he didn't have a grasp on how to be an NFL head coach, how to be the CEO of the program. Was his play calling great? Probably not. Did he develop quarterbacks? No. But I think the biggest issue with Brian Callahan is that he was in over his head. He did not have a good grasp on how to be an NFL head coach. You want somebody who can come in and hit the ground running and doesn't have to learn on the job. And even though these college guys have been head coaches before, there is a difference because you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds versus 23 to 40-year-olds. That's a completely different realm that I think it would take some adjusting to. And I don't know if I want the new hire to have to adjust at all. I want somebody who's going to come in and command the room and is immediately going to try and build a culture here. Ken on the text line says, with the state of this team, they cannot take a chance on an unproven NFL coach. They need a proven coach with a winning record and offensive background. I say Mike McCarthy. I'm right there with you, Ken. I think Ken is the best. Ken has the best idea, which is Mike McCarthy. I would pick Mike McCarthy to be the head coach of the Titans, but there are plenty of other options out there. Arthur Smith would be a good idea. I think Matt Nagy could be better, and I know that's not the name that a lot of fans out there want.
Not the sexy hire.
Right, like Matt Nagy, there's a bad connotation with him because of the way things ended in Chicago, but he did go to the playoffs twice. And, hindsight, was it more Matt Nagy's fault or was it more Mitch Trubisky's fault? Not saying that Nagy would top my list of candidates, but I don't think it would be a horrible hire. Joe on the YouTube chat says Cliff Kingsbury is the answer. I don't know. And for Cliff, it kind of seems like if he was going to leave, last year was the time to do it, coming off the NFC Championship game appearance. Now with all the injuries, that's out of his control, but I would think that maybe his name is losing some of the shine that it had at the end of last year. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Again, Steve Sarkisian reported by Deanna Rossini that he is interested in NFL head coaching positions, although that was denied by his representation pretty shortly after that report came out on Saturday afternoon. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll take your thoughts. We're going to move on to college football on the other side. What a game between Vanderbilt and Missouri on Saturday at First Bank Stadium. It was a nail-biter, to say the least, a defensive struggle, but Vandy comes out on top to get to 7-1, heading to Austin with a chance to get to 8-1, and pretty much put themselves in a very comfortable spot for a college football playoff berth. We'll talk Vandy on the other side. The MTSU Blue Raiders will take on Jacksonville State this Wednesday at 6:30. Catch all of the action on Totally Hits 93.3 with coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Hour number 1 in the books. We'll talk some college football on the other side. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on this Reaction Monday. Titans fall to the Colts 38-14 yesterday. 7. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Plenty of Titans talk in the first hour. Time to talk some college football. Vanderbilt escaping with a win on Saturday on West End, 17-10. A Hail Mary attempt from Missouri came up, 6 inches short of being a touchdown. One of the craziest finishes I've ever seen. Naked eye, I thought he caught it in the end zone off the rip. I was up there in the booth and thought that he was in. Then I see the ref go incomplete, thought it was incomplete, and they finally showed the replay of him keeping the ball up with his knees and feet, but was just shy of the goal line, and Vandy able to get the win over Mizzou 17-10. Parker, maybe not the most exciting game from start to finish. Only 6 points scored in the first half. It was 3-3, but those two teams battled for 60 minutes, and Vandy, in a game where I don't think they played their best. I don't think Vandy played very well at all, honestly, but you still beat a top 15 team at home. That's not something that Vanderbilt could say for a long time, that you don't play your best and you're still able to beat a ranked team and keep your college football playoff hopes alive.
Here's the interesting part about it is Missouri won. If you're looking at the box score, Missouri won in almost every single category. But what the difference was, Vanderbilt won in the red zone. Missouri only had one touchdown when they were in the red zone, and it didn't take much. It took 11 points to win this football game. Vandy scored 17, which was more than enough to win the football game. And I think that speaks to how mature this Vanderbilt team is, because we've seen them light up the scoreboard, and we've seen them win in multiple ways now because they win a gritty one versus Missouri. And Missouri's a really good football team. They oftentimes don't get enough credit, but Vanderbilt found a way to win, and now they're ranked in the single digits for the first time since probably World War II.
Yeah, and I believe 1937 is the last time they were inside the top 10. They were ranked number 7. I may be a little bit off on that, but 7 is the highest ranking in program history. And they are now number 9 in the country after the win on Saturday. And you're right. All props to Missouri, because that was a team that I thought, with the way Vandy was playing, I thought Vandy could handle Missouri pretty easily. But with a freshman quarterback in there for the last third of the game, they gave Vandy everything they could handle. The Commodores, they did shoot themselves in the foot a couple of times. The unnecessary roughness penalty after the play that knocked them out of field goal range in the first half. That's a 3-point penalty right there that took a field goal off the board. You had the end of the game where Cedric Alexander is laying on his back for 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and then the ball gets ripped out and they call it a fumble on the field. I thought that was hilarious, especially when the interception that Pavia threw, where Vandy almost ripped it out, they called the Missouri player down by contact, which he was, but it was much closer than the Cedric Alexander play at the goal line. It's just funny. The officiating was not good on Saturday either. Both sides. But
which has been a problem,
right?
In the entire SEC.
It's been bad. I've been seeing. It was funny. Andrew Allegretta posted the in the booth video of the MK Young 80-yard touchdown, which maybe the biggest play of the game. It was 3-3, and neither team was showing a whole lot of ability to move the football, and you get an 80-yard touchdown. Missouri fans are caught up on what was maybe a hold on the outside. I don't think it was obvious, but Andrew Allegretta posted the in the booth video, and I'm seeing all the comments are Missouri fans didn't mention the hold on the outside that sprung the run. It's like the officiating wasn't good either way. Diego Pavia got hit after the whistle multiple times, and it wasn't called. So not good either way. Vandy, I don't think, played very well. There were a lot of penalties on the Commodores. You turned the ball over. You had that penalty in the red zone that knocked you out. It wasn't perfect, but in games for a long time for Vanderbilt, when it wasn't perfect against an SEC team, against a ranked SEC team, you had no chance to win the game, and Vandy still found a way. And yes, it came down to maybe 3 or 4 inches from that ball being a touchdown on the Hail Mary, but Vandy found a way. You're 7-1, and now if you go 3-1 down the stretch, you're in the college football playoff. And I know there are some people who think that you have to win out. 10-2, I think, is enough. Especially Vandy. It's not like they played exclusively FCS and Group of 5 teams in the preseason. I'm not trying to say that my Virginia Tech Hokies are some type of world beaters, but Vandy played a power conference team on the road and got a big win in the non-conference. And you played an SEC schedule, which already is going to be tougher than any other conference in the nation. If you win 10 games, you're in a 12-team playoff. We saw that with Tennessee last year. Tennessee was 10-2. They got in. They were the 9 seed. I think that would be where Vandy would end up, is 8, 9, 10 if they end up going 10-2. I do want to give some credit to that freshman quarterback from Missouri, Matt Zoll. Is it Zoller? Parker?
Matt Zollers.
Zollers. Man, I thought he was going to fold, right? And nothing against him, but you're a freshman quarterback being thrown in there in a tight top 15 game on the road. And guess what? He didn't flinch. He was really good. I want to give credit to him. That's a guy that I think Mizzou can build around for a while there. And also, great news on Bo Pribula yesterday that it looks like he didn't break his ankle, which shocking considering the way that play turned out on 4th and goal. I think Missouri maybe looks back on that play as the reason that they lost, going quarterback run on 4th and goal instead of giving it to the SEC's leading rusher. But I got to give credit to the young quarterback. I thought Matt Zollers came in and played really well. And he's probably going to have to play for at least a while here, because even though Pribula maybe didn't break his ankle, probably not going to play for at least a month here. But Missouri, as Eli Drinkwitz said, he said, we may not make the SEC championship game, but we're sure as heck going to be in the playoff. Don't know about that, but they are still mathematically alive. They are mathematically alive. 2438 on the text line says, yeah, the officiating was horrible for Vanderbilt and Missouri. Missed targeting call on Vanderbilt, missed roughing the passer call on well, you're only bringing up the Vanderbilt penalties. There were plenty of missed penalties on Missouri too. There was at least 2 obvious holding calls on Missouri that they didn't call. There was at least a couple possible intentional groundings they didn't call, and then possible roughing the passer on Pavia twice. So, I will agree. There were some missed calls on Vanderbilt, but there were definitely some missed calls on Missouri too. Kevin says Missouri is a good team and they played a great game. Sometimes that's going to happen too. Is it allowable for the other team to do that as well? Yeah, I mean, that's I'm not exactly sure what you mean, but both teams I don't think played their best on Saturday, but Vandy found a way to win, which is something that they hadn't been able to do for a while. And that's an important trait to have in the SEC, because a lot of these games are going to come down to just a couple of plays. Do you have the ability to find a way to win? Titans are a great example. They don't know how to win games right now. They really don't. Unless you get 3 crazy fumbles, they don't know how to win games right now, even if they do find their way into a close game in the 4th quarter. Vandy has found a way to win games this year, and they're 7-1. Texas coming up this weekend. We say it every week. It might be the most important game in Vanderbilt history. If Vandy is able to win against Texas, all you have to do, and again, I say it every week, easier said than done, but all you have to do if you beat Texas on Saturday is beat Auburn and Kentucky at home, and you're in the playoff. You go to Knoxville and you feel good about your spot, even if you lose. Now, I'm sure there's a scenario where, maybe you get blown out by Tennessee, which I wouldn't expect, but it could happen, that the eye test maybe knocked you out. But if you're 10-1 heading to Neyland, you feel really good about your position. And that looks a whole lot more doable than it did even 2 weeks ago, with the way Texas has played the last couple of weeks, you go to overtime with Kentucky and Mississippi State. Texas is favored in the game. It's in Austin, but definitely not impossible to see Vandy coming out of that win, coming back home for 2 games against teams with 1 win combined in the SEC for a chance to go to the college football playoff.
Yeah, I was just looking at their schedule, and if you win this game at Texas and you have Kentucky and you have Auburn the next 2 weeks at home, and you're 10-1 going into Knoxville, I'd say Vandy is probably, if they're 9 right now, they're probably a 6 or 7 ranked team at that point. And if you lose to Tennessee and you don't get blown out, then I don't know if that's enough to knock you out. It shouldn't be, because the thing that drives me crazy is if Texas were to have the resume that Vanderbilt has right now, we would be talking about Texas as a national championship contender. I don't think Vandy is a national championship contender, but nobody's talking about Vanderbilt that way because it's Vanderbilt, and people don't believe
Right.
still.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time about people still scouting logos, and it's not going to change. But I do make the point that I don't think that will hurt them in the committee selection process, because the college football playoff is a made for TV event. And is there really much of a better story than Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt right now across college? And you know what? I have some thoughts on Diego Pavia from this weekend, because there's been a lot of controversy about him online over the last couple of days. We'll talk about Pavia and his possible Heisman campaign coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com if you want to chime in. A couple thoughts here. 6641, our Memphis friend, says, crazy thought, no idea how it would actually let Vandy and Memphis both miss the playoff. And I think that would be one hell of a bowl game. Lots of state bragging rights on the line, and 2 of the best teams in school history. I agree. If Vandy ended up 9-3 and missing the playoff, Vandy Memphis could be a fun one. Maybe Music City Bowl for that one. Or actually, that's a Big Ten tie in there. 3348 says, how about the ridiculous choice to say Vandy fumbled when he was clearly lying on the ground for seconds? Yeah, we talked about that one. What they saw, I guess maybe they wanted to let it play out and see what happened and then go back and fix it on replay. But the call on the field does matter, right? Like with the change of it's going to be upheld, no more stands or confirms. Like the call on the field really does matter. And to call that a fumble and leave it up to replay when it's just a complete mess of bodies in there with Cedric Alexander felt like a bad decision. 3348 says it saved Missouri a timeout. It did not actually. They did have to call their second timeout after they ruled Cedric Alexander down by contact. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Again, taking your thoughts on Vanderbilt after a 17-10 win over Missouri on Saturday. Jake Lyman, live out here in Memphis. I am here in Memphis as Vandy women's basketball has an exhibition tonight that you can listen into on 94.9 The Fan at 5:15, taking on the Memphis Tigers in the Hoops for St. Jude tip-off classic. We'll talk more Vandy football on the other side. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on this Monday. Big weekend of football. Titans losing again. 1-7, 38-14 loss to the Colts yesterday, but Vanderbilt with a 17-10 win, capping off what was a special day on West End. College game day in town to start the morning. We'll talk a little game day this hour as well. But Vandy gets the win, 17-10. They learned how to win ugly, and 8750 I think makes a good point. Championship teams learn how to win ugly, something they haven't done in the past. Lost total yards and time of possession. That's how Vandy has won games. Time of possession has been a great indicator over the last couple of years of whether Vandy's going to win. If they can control the game, usually they find a way to come out on top. They didn't control the game on Saturday and still found a way to win. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam in Portland has been waiting patiently. Adam, thanks for calling. What you got for us?
Jake, did you catch Nate Bargatze's line when he picked LSU because he said they hung with the best team in the nation last year or last week?
Yes. Bargatze was hilarious. Dude.
Yeah, I love Nate, man. So Vanderbilt, and I caught something you said earlier. You're like, it wasn't the most exciting game. I think it's who you're talking to. Like, it just depends on who you're talking to. I thought it was the best game I've seen all year because I love defense. I love good defense. Even seeing Duke come off the bench for Missouri and playing really well it was a heck of a game, dude. Go Vandy. I mean, I don't think anything really stands in their way right now. I never thought I'd be saying that about the Commodores because I've had so much like miserable moments watching them. And so how many years have you been covering them, Jake? It's been 2 or 3, right?
This is my 4th season with women's basketball, so 3 with football.
Right. So you get I don't know, man. Like you've gotten to see a lot of fun stuff, and hopefully there's a lot more years of that. But no, I'm just really proud of the Commodores, man. And I never thought I'd be saying that about their football team.
Appreciate the call, Adam. No, it's I think maybe a better word for the game on Saturday instead of not super exciting would just be it was a defensive struggle, and it came down to the wire. It was a whole lot of fun to watch the final minutes of that game. Vandy able to pull it off. Let's go back to our phone lines. Buckeye Dan is on the line, wanted to talk about Clark Lee. What you got for us today, Buckeye Dan?
Yes, good morning. It's a really wonderful time to be a Buckeye, but I am so happy for Vandy. I really am. With all the really good quality coaching jobs that are coming available, how much longer do you think they can keep Clark Lee? I mean, I hate to even think about it, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point, Buckeye Dan. There's been a lot of conversation about that, and when you have success, people are going to come calling, right? Like that's kind of the nature of the beast of when you are this good, you do have to worry about losing the guy who came in and turned it around. But I also think it's a little bit different with Clark Lee. I mean, he's up in Nashville, went to Vanderbilt. So I think it's a little bit different, but you also do have to commit, and I'm sure he's going to get a nice raise out of it and maybe some more resources. But I think it'll be easier to keep Clark Lee given the ties that he has to Nashville and to Vanderbilt, and that he wants to win a national championship here, not just a national championship anywhere.
He's just the kind of guy that it doesn't matter what level your kids are playing at. Everything about him, he doesn't engage in these little coach speak things like so many of them do. He always says the right thing, always has his players' back, always has something different to say about, his team and the game in general. It's just, I like everything about him.
No, I appreciate the call, Buckeye Dan. I think that Clark Lee deserves a lot of credit for what he's been able to do. You look at Diego Pavia and obviously bringing in Jerry Kill and Tim Beck and Dowers and all those guys, that's a huge part of it too, right? Is bringing those guys in and taking the success that they all had together and building on it at a bigger level at Vanderbilt. But Clark Lee, he took a long look inwards after you lost 10 straight games in 2023. And a bad start to 2024, and things could have gone the other direction. But he looked inward. He made the changes necessary, brought in guys that were going to help build this culture here. And look what it's done in a year and a half. It has been crazy to see the turnaround for this team. And Vandy, you're 7-1, and it kind of felt like just a nice story early on in the year. I think on a national scale of like, oh, look at what Vandy's doing. That's cute. But guess what? They're not cute anymore. They're legit. They're the number 9 team in the country. They're 7-1, and they're a trip down to Texas away from coming back home and having a chance to lock up a college football playoff spot before heading to Knoxville for the final week of the season. Justin from Greenbrier on the text line says if Vandy makes it to Knoxville 10-1, they're going to march in there with some swagger. They'll want to go take that game from UT in their house and put a stamp on the season. I think that's a good point, especially if Tennessee is 9-2 heading into that game and they need it to get into the playoff. I think Vandy, it's not going to be a game where they go in there feeling like they have house money, right? Like they're going to go in there wanting to win, but it doesn't hurt to put yourself in a position where you can still afford to lose that game and get into the playoffs. 3722 says that game felt like an absolute rock fight, just a defensive heavyweight box match where each punch that landed really counted. Yeah, and we haven't even talked about the strip from CJ Hurd, right? Like that might be the play of the game because Missouri had answered back after that 80-yard MK Young touchdown, which of course was huge. But CJ Hurd just taking the ball from Roberts, the running back, and setting up what ended up being the go-ahead touchdown. That's a play that might have completely flipped that game. Nevada Josh says Clark and Pavia to the Titans next year. I don't think so. I think Clark Lee likes being a college coach, and the Titans, they're like Diego Pavia. I think with every game he plays well, he's upping his draft stock, but I still don't know if there's going to be teams that take a chance on him on day 2. But I think he's rising up boards to day 3. I mean, maybe a 4th or 5th round pick at this point. 615-737-1025. I did have a quick thought on Diego Pavia. I saw some tweets out there about Diego and like the Heisman campaign, the two-turn campaign, which if you're driving around Nashville, I'm sure you've seen some of the billboards. Every school does this. Go look back at what Colorado did for Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter last year. They were sending gift boxes to every single Heisman voter. So this is not something new. I saw a tweet, and I forget who put it out.
I know exactly what you're referring to. I have it pulled up.
It was like, if your school has to put an online campaign advocating for you to win the Heisman, then maybe you don't deserve to win the Heisman. And it's ridiculous. And every school does it, and Diego Pavia should be in the Heisman conversation. Saturday, I don't know if that helped his case. Like the stats weren't good, but he did make the plays necessary when they needed him to win that football game. And right now, again, I still think he's probably behind that top tier of Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson, but he's still definitely in the conversation to be sitting in New York at the end of the season. And if he finishes strong and gets Vandy to the playoff, there's no reason he couldn't end up lifting that trophy. Jeff on the text line, who is going to beat out Clark Lee for Coach of the Year other than possibly Mike Elko at A&M? Yeah, in the SEC, I think Elko probably has the inside track right now, undefeated. And what they did to LSU in Death Valley on Saturday night was really impressive. I think Elko deserves a look there. And, the Lane train has had himself a good year too, and they get in the playoff. But I think Clark Lee would be second behind Elko as of right now. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll continue to take your thoughts. I want to talk about game day a little bit because I was out there. Parker, you were out there. I thought that was really well done by everybody involved. Big moments, headliners. I thought it was awesome. We'll talk about college game day on the other side. Jake Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025, the game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on this Monday. Appreciate everybody interacting today on your reaction Monday. Titans with a loss, 38-14 to the Colts yesterday. Vanderbilt, 17-10 win over Missouri, now the number 9 team in the country. Did want to talk about College Game Day a little bit because first time in 17 years that Game Day made its way to Nashville. I got out there right around 7:25, 7:30. Parker, what time did you get out to Game Day?
I got there at 6 a.m., my wife and I.
Oh, wow. So you got there early.
It was an early wake-up call. We got up at 4 a.m., but it was completely worth it.
Yeah, I got there. We woke up at like 6:15 and made our way over. Got there like 7:25, 7:30. And honestly, still with some decent spots available. We ended up kind of off to the side of the musical performance stage where Kenny Chesney and Dierks Bentley performed. And then it started to fill in. By the time the show actually started at 8, it was packed. But I thought just everything was executed perfectly for Game Day. The performances, you got the Music City feel to it, having Dierks Bentley lead off the show, and then Kenny Chesney. Like, I get it, he's a Vols fan, but he's still it's Music City, and they wanted to accent that. The alternative was put it on Broadway, so I guess you take the good with the bad. And then Dirk's performing again later on. I thought Nate Bargatze was awesome. And he always is whenever he's on anything, whether it's SNL or his specials. But I thought he was hilarious. Trying to recruit Jared Curtis live on air was awesome. He did it twice, too. He did it leading into his pick segment, and then just randomly during the BYU Iowa State pick, he just started to go on a soliloquy about why Jared Curtis should come play at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, it was great because my wife and I, we were walking back from after Game Day was over, and they were taking Nate Bargatze away on the golf cart, and I actually got to talk to him because it's hilarious because we graduated from the same high school, and he came and spoke at shout out DCA, Donaldson Christian Academy, go Wildcats. But he actually came and spoke at one of our chapels when I was in middle school, and at the time I had no idea who he was, and he was an up and comer. And I believe we actually spoke then, but he probably doesn't remember me. But it was really cool because we got to talk a little bit after the game or after Game Day.
No, he's great. And, I've been on tour a lot this year. And the last time I remember, Texas was the number 1 team in the country. So I'm going with Texas. I thought he was great. And then, of course, the kick. I mean, we talked about it last week about how they had the clinic on the lawn and Brock Taylor came out and was teaching some of the students how to kick. And is it Tyler Huang was his name? Goes up and he was confident. He said, I kicked in high school, I kicked in soccer, and he stepped up barefoot. And Parker, I don't know if you thought the same thing too, but when I saw that he took his shoes off, I knew he was going to make it. You don't take your shoe off unless you're confident that you are going to knock it down. And he was able to crush it. Good from 50. Is that fair to say, Parker?
Yeah, maybe. 50 might be a bit of a stretch, but when he took the shoes off, I'm like, all right, this dude is a psychopath.
Yeah.
And he drilled it.
Yeah, and maybe not good from 50. It was leaking left a little bit, but I thought it was good from at least 45. That was really well done. 615-737-1025. All around, Game Day was great. 6641 said Nate's the best and said it the best. There's some weirdness between Nashville and Memphis, but we're going to start fixing it right now and pick the Tigers to beat USF. He started the mending process. Me, Jake, and Parker are going to finish it. That's right. I'm making a mission trip out here to Memphis to follow through on what Nate Bargatze started on Saturday.
you're patching up the I guess the beef between Nashville and Memphis. So.
The weirdness. Nate started it by picking Memphis on Saturday, and I guess I'm out here as the next step. Overall, I had only been to Game Day one other time, and that was for the battle at Bristol in 2016 with Virginia Tech and Tennessee. And that was really cool, but it's also different. It wasn't the same vibes because it's not a college campus. and it was kind of just in the middle of everybody's tailgates. This was really cool, and I'm so glad that I went out there. I was only able to stay for about an hour, but it was really cool to get out there, and I thought the Vandy students and fans all brought the energy. It was awesome to see Nick Saban get dressed up in the Vandy pimp gear early on when they brought him out there. Saban jumped on the Vandy bandwagon. He did, and he picked Vanderbilt for the first time ever, I think, which was cool. Predemption on the YouTube chat says, "I don't know what was more shocking, Jake. Kenny Chesney performing on Vanderbilt campus or Saban picking Vandy to win?" Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of both. I would go with Saban. I wanted to mention, Parker, you were there too for the kick. The first ticket pulled was not actually the guy who kicked. They pulled another person's ticket, and I guess whoever it was didn't hear or wasn't around, maybe went to the bathroom. And so they gave it about 20 seconds before they moved on. Man, that's a $500,000 kind of lucking into it because
Yeah.
Tyler shouldn't have even gotten a chance to kick it.
And it worked out for the better. 'Cause
It did.
Tyler, he may never have to pay for anything in Nashville ever again.
Well, I mean, at least if he does have to, he can handle it at this point.
Right. You know, he has the money, but he's got to pay off his tuition first.
Right. He said he's going to help out his parents. Overall, game day was awesome. I think it was big for Vanderbilt in terms of just being in the national spotlight and then following through in the game. I think was just as important as showing out at game day, because it would be easy for everybody to write Vanderbilt off if they get game day and there's all this hype around it, and then you don't live up to it on the football field. They lived up to it. They got the win, and now heading down to Texas for a chance to get to 8-1 on the year and continue to rise the rankings all the way up to number 9 in the country. Danny on X says that I guess I'm the local homer, thinking Vandy is getting into the playoffs.
I couldn't tell who he was referring to.
No, I think he's talking about me. Losing to the Vols is clueless. Better win out. I will admit I'm a company man. Like I'm gonna put Vandy forward, but Vandy at 10-2 is going to get in, right? Like there's going to be a spot for a 10-2 Vanderbilt team. I'm not saying they're going to host a playoff team, but if you beat Texas on the road, beat Auburn, beat Kentucky, and you lose a close one to Tennessee, there's no way they leave Vanderbilt out. I guess he's expanded, saying ACC and maybe a one-loss ACC runner-up. I don't view the ACC as a two-bid league. Like maybe Miami, but they have to win out at this point. The Commodores are going to get in, and it's time that everybody starts to look at Vanderbilt as a true contender. If they are 10-2, they are going to get in.
You're such a homer, Jake. I can't believe you.
I guess so. I'm not saying that they're getting in no matter what. Like they've still got to take care of business, but 10-2 is going to be good enough for Vanderbilt. I would almost guarantee it. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll take your thoughts. Devin and Dixon says somebody had to go and take a $500,000 piss and miss their money chance. Yeah, I don't know where the first person went, but they called a number and they said they said going once, going twice, no one answered, and they pulled the second one. Ended up being $500,000 for Tyler when he stepped up there and kicked. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If people are going to call me the local homer, let's talk Vols on the other side. We'll talk Tennessee after they got a much-needed offensive eruption against Kentucky on Saturday. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025, the game, Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, wrapping up hour number 2 on this Monday. We'll get back into the Titans and the NFL coming up at the top of the hour, but we talked a lot of Vandy. Got to give a little bit of attention to the Vols as well, as Tennessee got a big win on the road. You know, after a couple of times this year where they played down to their opponents and haven't been able to pull away for some wins. They were able to get a 56-34 win over Kentucky. Parker, being the resident Vol fan here, I'm sure a lot to be desired on the defensive side of the ball, but on the offensive side, I mean, a masterclass from Joey Aguilar, 20 for 26, 396 yards. That's 15 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, no picks. The Tennessee offense erupted against Kentucky on Saturday. Again, 34 points on the other side, not what you want, but some good momentum to take into what is a massive, massive game against Oklahoma this weekend.
Absolutely. It looked like 2022 with the explosive plays down the field, and the offense really needed a performance like this after the Alabama loss. But going back to the defense, it's not where it needs to be, obviously. Tennessee's very good at forcing the explosive turnover on defense that ultimately ends up resulting in points. But the problem is they give up too many explosives as well. So that's got to balance itself out, or else a team like Oklahoma could get you, and then you go to the swamp, that second to last game of the season, and obviously Vanderbilt at the end of the year. So that's something that has to be cleaned up if the Vols do want a legitimate shot at making the college football playoffs.
Yes, and you have to win out if you're Tennessee. 9-3 is not going to be good enough. You still have a non-conference tune-up game against New Mexico State coming up in a few weeks. But Oklahoma, this week, you're going to be night and kneeling, 6:30 kickoff on ABC. That is where the eyes of the country are going to go. That's an elimination game. Oklahoma losing its second game this past week to Texas. So loser of this game effectively out of the college football playoff. So it's a big one. And I think I would pick Tennessee right now, the way that they're playing and the offense and playing at home. But it's definitely not a gimme. And you got a good quarterback on the other side in John Mateer. Oklahoma's defense is really good. But you get through that, you get the bye week, you get New Mexico State, and you can gear up for that trip to the swamp coming up in late November. Tennessee and Vanderbilt, I think the more you look at it, the more likely it is that that's a game to go to the playoff between those two teams. Like, I think Vandy, they could win this weekend in Texas. Auburn could be sneaky. Odds are you go 2-1 over these next 3. Could you go 3-0? For sure. But 2-1, I think, is a fair guess for Vandy. Tennessee, I think they're going to be favored in every game they have heading up to Vanderbilt. I mean, you're going to have, you might have 2 9-2 teams in Knoxville. And I don't know if this city and this state could handle that. Like, we've seen the way the rivalry around baseball has blown up over the last few years, you know, with Tony Vitello rising the Vols up to national championship status, and with obviously what Tim Corbin has built. Those weekends are always explosive between these two fan bases. I can only imagine what that game and the week leading up to that game would look like with Tennessee and Vanderbilt both needing a win to get into the college football playoff on rivalry weekend. I really hope it happens, but I also worry for the stability of the state of Tennessee if it does.
Because imagine Memphis just beat USF, so last Saturday. So there's a good chance that Memphis is the Group of 5 representative. Imagine you have a playoff, a playing game at the end of the year between a 10-1 Vanderbilt, a 9-2 Tennessee, and then you have Memphis. 3 teams from kind of spread out all over the state. If all 3 of those teams were somehow able to get in the playoff, now that would take some serious chaos, because I still think the Vols need a ton of help, because you still have A&M, Alabama, Georgia, and Vanderbilt, who I'd say are ahead of the Vols in terms of the playoff race. I'm forgetting somebody. Am I forgetting somebody?
You said Alabama, A&M, Ole Miss, Georgia?
Yeah, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is there's 5. So the Vols will need a lot of help in front of them. So there would have to be some chaos happen. But man, that would be awesome for the state.
Yes, that would be just an unbelievable matchup. The atmosphere in Neyland would be crazy. I mean, I would think that game day would have to go to that game, right? Like, obviously rivalry weekend is always loaded with matchups. You got the Iron Bowl going on. Uh, the Egg Bowl could be interesting this year. You got Texas A&M, but Vandy, Tennessee with the playoff spot on the line. I think game day would have to go back to Knoxville. And guess what? That would be 3 times Vandy is featured on game day this year, which I don't know if anyone thought it would happen. 1382 says, even though this may not happen, what if Vanderbilt and Tennessee were played at a neutral site? Parker, I'll let you take this one. We are anti-neutral site college football games.
Holy crap. Neutrals, okay, and I'll make this very quick because it really is that simple. The best thing about college football is the home field environments. If you
Yep.
take that away, it sanitizes everything. Why in the world would you want to do that just to gain an extra buck? It's stupid. No neutral site
Yeah.
games.
Nope, I am with you. Playing that game in Nissan Stadium would make it less fun. Like, I mean, yeah, you probably got more Vandy fans who could get in there, but I think even Vanderbilt would say, no, we want to play that game in Neyland, because I think Vandy has kind of embraced uh they want to go on the road and they want to shut down those environments. They have claimed Enter Sandman and Sandstorm as their songs after beating Virginia Tech and South Carolina this year. So I think they want to go in to Neyland and get a win, and see if they can not only get themselves into the playoffs but end their rivals' chances to get into the playoffs. That's what college football is all about right there. No neutral site games. Nevada Josh says, neutral site, what is this, France? I agree. We don't do that in America. I guess we do in some of these rivalries, Texas, Oklahoma. But again, that one I can live with. It's a tradition. Georgia, Florida, world's biggest cocktail party, whatever. You can have those, but everything else, it's got to still be in the home stadium. They're moving Georgia Tech to Atlanta, right?
That's just for this year, which is, I mean, I don't understand that one. It's still a home game for Georgia Tech because it's still in Atlanta. But
I guess I should be more specific. They're moving it to Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah. The only neutral site game that I really, really love is the Red River Shootout between Oklahoma and Texas. You can keep that one. The rest, I'd be willing to change.
Yeah, Red River Shootout and the world's biggest cocktail party. Those are the two that I can live with as neutral site games, because it is a tradition and you get the crowd split right down the middle. I can live with that, but we don't need to be adding more neutral site rivalry games. It's so much more fun to have those games played on campus, and Neyland will be rocking if it ends up being what we kind of expect it to be, where both those teams have 9 or more wins heading in, and winner is in, loser maybe is out. And that's what this is all about. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have thoughts, we'll take them on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Going to talk more NFL on the other side. I feel like the haves and the have-nots in the NFL are much more separated than usual across the league this year. We'll talk about that next, and whether we think the Titans have any chance to win another game this season. And also, towards the end of the show, the coaching carousel keeps spinning faster across college football. Brian Kelly fired last night from LSU. We will talk about how that all might shake out in the final hour of the show as well. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on this Monday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Monday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, alongside you on this Monday. Broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Appreciate everybody's interaction today. It is a Reaction Monday, and we'll continue to take your thoughts on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025 is the phone number. I had a big picture NFL thought after watching some of the games yesterday, and it's shocking to me the difference between the haves and have-nots in this league. The NFL, one of the big appeals of the NFL versus college football is that it is so much more competitive, and the parity, any team can beat any other team on any given Sunday. And while that still may be true, we still see upsets. The split is much wider than I feel like it usually is. And maybe this is just a small sample size that I'm using, but yesterday there was one game that was decided by one possession. That's it. Every other game was at least two possessions, and you saw lots of just straight up blowouts in week 8. Last week, there were only 6 games decided by one score. The week before, there was only 5, maybe 6. So it's kind of jarring to see the difference between the good teams and the bad teams is widening. And maybe it's just this year, but to see games like yesterday where a lot of these teams just didn't have any chance. The Titans are a good example of that. That game was 38-7. Titans get a garbage time touchdown at the end to make it 24. Tampa Bay blows out New Orleans by 20. Buffalo beat Carolina 40-9. Cleveland, Myles Garrett gets 5 sacks yesterday. 5 of them. And they lost by 19 points. That is ridiculous. And
I thought there was a typo in the box score yesterday when I saw that.
Right. 5 sacks. I did see, and I always blank on who actually put this out there, but somebody tweeted that Myles Garrett against Mike Vrabel coach teams now has 8.5 sacks in his last 2 games, dating back to that 2023 game where the Titans were just having a tight end follow him around the field to make sure that he didn't get a one-on-one against the tackles. It's crazy. Myles Garrett is the definition of the Maserati sitting in the shack meme. That is what he is on the Browns right now. And it's just a wide split. These good teams, it almost feels like they're playing in different leagues. Feels like the Titans are playing a different sport at sometimes, but the Titans have just not been close in any game. They have by far the largest point differential split in the league. 120 points. They're being outscored by 120 points in 8 games. So 15 points a game. That's horrible. They're getting outscored by 15 points a game. Indianapolis is on the other end of the spectrum. They are outscoring opponents by 116, but they have played the Titans twice. But you're seeing a lot of these really lopsided point differentials across the league. Like Vegas is being outscored by 77. Cincinnati's got 3 wins. They're being outscored by 79. The Browns 58. The Jets 53. All of these are over a touchdown worth of points per game that these teams are being outscored by. We're just not getting good competitive football. Yesterday, if it wasn't for the Jets coming back to beat the Browns, that witching hour of NFL Red Zone would have just been completely dead. There was absolutely nothing going on except for the Jets making that comeback to get their first win of the season. I don't know if this is something that's going to continue throughout the year, but even the bad Titans teams that we've watched, and there's been plenty of them, the last 2 years would certainly count as bad Titans teams. There were plenty of games where they would be competitive and just not be able to find a way to win. Now, they'd get blown out. The Lions blew them out last year. The Commanders blew them out last year. But a lot of the games that you see bad NFL teams lose, it's just about not being able to make the necessary plays down the stretch. That's not been the case, especially for the Titans this year. The Titans, if it wasn't for everything possible bouncing their way against the Cardinals, they probably would only have one of their losses be by one score. Does that sound right, Parker?
Yeah. No, yeah.
because it by one score is kind of a stretch because they lost by 8 to the Broncos. So outside of the Cardinals game, they have not had a single game decided by a touchdown or less, which is insane. But that's how bad this team has been. And the gap between them and the good teams is widening, not shrinking. I mean, you lost to the Raiders by 10, who I just mentioned have the second worst point differential in the league. Patriots thumped you by 18. You lose by 20 plus to the Colts both times. The Chargers got a bounce back win on Thursday night. They won 37-10 over the Vikings. Sunday's going to be ugly again. It might be another 25 plus point loss. Have you seen what the spread is for that?
No, I haven't. I can check though.
Let me see.
It's going to be bad. It might be around the same as what the Colts was.
I would guess
maybe a little less since it's at
9.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, when you take home field advantage into account, it's probably about the same difference of what you'd expect the spread to be. Something I hadn't thought of until just now is, you know how we always talk about how the Titans get their stadium taken over by other teams, and it still looks full, but it's just other teams' fans who are in there. On Sunday, the Chargers don't have many fans, so that stadium, that may be the emptiest that stadium ever gets for a Titans game. Is that fair to say?
Well, considering that the Chargers don't have much of a fan base, and if they still take over a Nissan Stadium, that is going to be the lowest of the low, I would say.
The Chargers are widely known as the smallest fan base in the league. And do I expect Titans fans to show up? I don't. With the product that they're seeing, the temperatures are going to be in the 50s.
They barely showed up for Mike Vrabel's return. So
right. I mean, it was mostly Patriots fans in there. And the Chargers, that's not a fan base that travels well. That is not a fan base that is very big. That might be the smallest crowd that the Titans see for a long time. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I couldn't tell you what the lowest attendance in Nissan Stadium history is, or LP Field, or Adelphia Coliseum, but I would guess this Sunday is going to be up there. There's just not a whole lot of reason for Titans fans to get out there, and the opposing team isn't going to be taking over Nashville like they typically do. Adam in Portland on the text line asks, any chance the Titans call Howie Roseman and offer Jeffrey Simmons for A.J. Brown? Seems like everybody wins with that. I did see, I got ESPN on here in the hotel room, and I did see that the report is that A.J. Brown will not be traded. And I have to imagine if he's going to go anywhere, it's not going to be back to the Titans. But in terms of filling a need for both teams, yeah, I mean, I could see it. It's not going to happen, but that would be decent value, I think, for the Eagles. You'd get a player who can help them right away, and the Titans could get a go-to target for Cam Ward. On paper, sure, it makes sense, but it's never going to happen. The Titans, the trade deadline is now just a week away, and I don't know how much of a fire sale it's going to be, but I think I'd set the expectation at 2 to 3 trades for the Titans. Parker, does that sound about right?
Yeah, and I talked to Terry McCormick on Friday about the Jarvis Brownlee trade, because with L'Jarius Sneed getting put back on IR for the second time in 2 seasons, that Jarvis Brownlee trade looks a lot worse. So looks like you may have traded the wrong guy, but I totally expect a lot of these players to go. Tony Pollard being included. Now, I haven't heard that from anybody. It's just a gut feeling.
Yeah, Pollard is one of the wild cards. I think Arden Key, he did miss Sunday's game again, but I'm starting to wonder if maybe that's just protecting the asset until they find a trade for him. I think Arden Key is the most likely to be gone. I'd put him around 90%. Other trades, I wouldn't put any of them above like 50%, but there's definitely a few in that 40 to 50 range. Chikonkwo, Roger McCreary. I think Tony Pollard's a good name. Draymond Jones has sacked in 3 straight games now. So who knows? Maybe they just unload everybody. But yeah, I think the next week could be busy. In fact, we could see a trade as early as today, as teams start to make moves to try and build up for the playoff run. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll take your text and calls. 6641 says, if we have another 21-plus point loss, do we consider firing Mike McCoy? I don't know if an interim coach has ever been fired before. I don't see that happening. That just adds a whole lot more chaos to an already chaotic situation.
It's not going to make anything better.
Right. You're not fixing anything at this point. You just got to take your lumps. I don't think McCoy has been great. I don't think he's been notably worse than Brian Callahan, though. I would say he's been a little bit better. The decision on 4th and 3 was bad yesterday, but at this point, you can't fire him. It's only going to make things more difficult for you for the rest of the season. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. The Titans are now 1-7. Do they have any chance to win a game the rest of the year? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley. Next man up, 1025 The Game. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We were going through in the last segment about how the NFL feels more widespread this year. It's not as close together where any team can beat any team on any given Sunday. Teams are just getting blown out, and the Titans are the prime example of that, with the worst point differential in the NFL this season at minus 120 through the first 8 games. And I think it's time to start asking the question of will this team win a game the rest of the year? The only ones that I can point to would be the Browns and the Saints. Like those are the two that I look like and say, all right, well, those teams are really bad as well. But this team is on pace for historically bad levels of incompetency. I was looking through and saw minus 120. I was like, all right, so you're losing games by 15 points a game. What is the worst point differential in a season in NFL history? And that would be the 0-14 Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1976 at minus 287. The Titans are on track for a negative 255 point differential, which, being on track for that doesn't mean they'll end up anywhere close to that, but we'll see. 255 would be the sixth worst mark in NFL history, ahead of teams like the 2008 Lions, who were 0-16 that year. They only had a negative 249 point differential. So I'm not saying that's where they're going to end up, but it's hard to look at this team as anything other than uncompetitive right now. Like, there's a difference between being a bad team and being an uncompetitive team, and that is the realm that they have fallen into. A minus 120 point differential through 8 weeks is just horrendous. And I don't think they'll end up at minus 255. That would mean they just continue to get blown out by 15 plus points every single week. But they're going to be in I don't know if they win more than one game the rest of the year, Parker. Like, we talked at the beginning of the year saying we thought this was a 5, 6, maybe even 7-win team. And I just struggle to see this team going out there and putting 60 minutes together more than once the rest of the season. I think they'll luck into another win because it happens in the NFL at times, especially when you're playing other bad teams. But 2-15 might be the ceiling at this point, which is crazy to say.
Without a win in divisional play, I'm looking at that 12-7 matchup at Cleveland, and then you're at home 12-28 versus the Saints. But even that Cleveland game is on the road, and they've at least won a couple of games this year. I think the Saints is probably your best bet, but I'm not even confident on that.
Yeah, Saints at home is the one that you could point to. They've got Spencer Rattler starting at quarterback. Maybe they make a move and you see Tyler Shuck at the end of the year. Like, I don't know.
Well, he came in the game yesterday for him.
Right, he did. I did see that. So, yeah, like, you don't know who's going to be playing quarterback for them, but it's probably not going to be anybody good. I think this team is 2-15. Maybe you get to 3-14, but I wouldn't pick it to happen. This team is going to be looking at draft positioning at the end of the year again. And I think you're going to be in that battle with the Jets and the Saints. That Saints game might be a huge one at the end of the year. Do you think they have a chance to go in there and win the Tank Bowl and maybe knock themselves out of a possible top pick? If you look at Tankathon right now, the Titans, their strength of schedule is actually tougher than the Jets and the Saints right now. So they would pick third, but a long way to go. That loss for the win for the Jets over the Bengals yesterday was massive if the Titans want to end up with the number 1 pick again.
Yeah, it's just getting to the point where it's just, if it wasn't our job to watch the Titans and talk about it the next day, would we really do it? Honestly.
Yeah. I was talking with some people on the Vandy women's basketball staff yesterday, and one was a Bengals fan, one was a 49ers fan, and we were joking about how all 3 of our teams lost today. And I said, yeah, but my reward is I get to go talk about it for 3 hours on the radio tomorrow. So lucky me after the Titans lost 38-14. It doesn't seem like there's any positive momentum for this team. Like, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, if you're looking for anything to make you happy about this Titans team, just focus on the young guys and hope they continue to develop, because that's going to be the core of next year's team and maybe the 2027 team. But, if you're looking for any kind of momentum towards becoming a winning football team, I don't see any right now. They did nothing yesterday to make me think that they're just on the verge of getting a win. The Chargers are likely going to come in here and win by double digits again. And Then you go into the bye week, and I think it could go one of two ways. Either you find a way to regroup and improve the product on the field, or guys just completely check out during the bye week. And I would probably lean, with your head coach already fired, I'd probably lean towards people are just going to check out after the bye week. And we'll see if they end up actually winning a game. 5774 has a great idea. He says, imagine the Saints and Titans just kneeling and punting for 60 minutes. That would be hilarious if that is the end up if that ended up happening. Obviously, it wouldn't. The integrity of the game would be questioned. But yeah, it'd be like the South Park clip of the two teams who just want to go play video games out in the middle of the field. We're gonna lose harder to you. No, there's no way that we beat you. We're horrible. That might be what the Titans and Saints ends up being in December. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 2509 says, Jake, if you're going to be doing this long term, let's get you a better mic for the work from home days. I do have a mic, and I feel bad that I didn't bring it today. I was hoping to use my equipment for Vandy women's basketball, but I couldn't find an Ethernet hookup. So this is just temporary. It will sound better for my work from the hotel days moving forward, I promise. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Chargers coming in on Sunday, Parker. They had a couple of down weeks, and they lost to the Giants. They almost lost to the Dolphins, who, hey, props to the Dolphins for getting a win yesterday over the Falcons on the road. But it does seem like they got their get-right game on Thursday night against the Vikings. They're coming in on extended rest with the mini bye. It's going to be an empty stadium. It'll be one of those things of, if a tree falls in the forest but no one's around, did it actually happen? I don't know how many people are actually going to be watching this game at Nissan Stadium, but the Titans, it is tough to talk about this team as much as we do. Like, they are so bad. And yesterday, I don't understand why they are unwilling to just put the pedal to the metal and go. Like, go for it if you're even remotely thinking about it, right? Like, if you are in 50-50, heck, even like 30-70, where it's probably better to punt it, just go. You got nothing to lose. Maybe you can find a rhythm, and those are the only times that you're going to have a chance to go win games, if you play aggressive and see if you can take a team by surprise. And yesterday, punting from the Indy 42 on 4th and 3. Again, I don't know. It didn't cost you the game. You didn't play well enough to win the game either way. But you were only down 10. You were just outside of field goal range. I do not understand why you wouldn't at least give it a chance there. And I'm sure Mike McCoy will hopefully have a better answer today when he speaks to the media this afternoon, because when he's talked to them yesterday, it was, looking back, probably want to go for it after the 80-yard touchdown run. But why is that your philosophy at this point? When you're 1-7, you're getting beat up on the road by a divisional opponent. Why is it your philosophy to go conservative and hope your defense can get a stop? I will never understand it. And I hope that maybe that's a wake-up call for this team to start being aggressive moving forward and just saying, you know what do we have to lose? We're 1-7. We're not going to the playoffs. Let's go see if we can spoil somebody else's day and get a win. And you're not going to be able to do that by punting on 4th and 3 when you're across midfield.
My mindset is, this team is so bad. It's just the game is eventually going to get away from you at some point. If you're going to go down swinging. Don't lay down and give them the game. It's really as simple as that.
The game was over at that point, and you could even look back to last week against the Patriots, where you give up that touchdown at the end of the half. You got 50 seconds and 3 timeouts to go try and get a couple of points, and instead you stay conservative, and the next time you touch the football, you're down 24-13. And then the fumble obviously puts you completely out of the game. It's back-to-back weeks where you're still in a game, you're not out of it, and you decide to just lay over and die, and Jonathan Taylor takes it 80 yards to the house on the next play. Ryan in Florida says, I'd take a fake punt or every fourth down, go for it. Yeah, how about that? Just fake the punt every single time and see if that works. Johnny Hecker got to 1,000 punts yesterday. Congratulations to Johnny Hecker on a great career. I don't need to see him punt it 1,000 more times before the end of the season. If you're gonna be 1-7 at this point in the year, go try and win some football games. Don't try not to lose them. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll take a quick break. On the other side. Big news last night in college football. Brian Kelly has been relieved of his duties at LSU. Another huge opening in college football. We'll talk about this crazy coaching carousel, where the pieces might end up at the end of it, and what other jobs could end up opening up over the next few months. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, with you on this Monday. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you for another 30 minutes on this Monday. Chase McCabe and Big Joe Dubin coming up after us with the Chase and Big Joe show at the top of the hour. We'll get away from the NFL here. The coaching carousel in college football. Maybe one of the craziest years that we'll ever see. James Franklin fired from Penn State a couple of weeks ago. Last week it was Billy Napier out at Florida. And now Brian Kelly, after losing to Texas A&M in Death Valley on Saturday night, he has been relieved of his duties. And there are a lot of big, high-profile openings across college football. And the wheels are going to be spinning in all of these athletic departments that have open positions and in pretty much every other successful athletic program across the entire country. I think there is no more perfect fit than Lane Kiffin to LSU. I think that is a match made in heaven, and it's going to end up. I mean, Landry Kiffin, his daughter is already dating Whit Weeks. It's perfect, and I expect that one to happen. Parker, am I off base saying that I think that is a marriage that is going to be rumored and likely going to happen between Lane Kiffin and LSU?
No, he's number one on the hot board for LSU right now. I just think it's so funny because Florida was feeling so good, even though they didn't play a game last week. They had a bye week, and then all of a sudden, LSU decides to pull the trigger. They fire Brian Kelly, and now they're all just pounding sand because they know what's about to happen. It is going to be a Lane Kiffin bidding war between LSU and Florida, and this coaching carousel is probably about to be the wildest that we have ever seen in college football.
I think Kiffin to LSU is just a perfect fit. His personality meshes with just the culture of LSU. And I think that one is going to happen sooner rather than later, would be my guess. I mean, I guess with Ole Miss still in the playoff hunt, they probably won't announce anything, but I would guess Lane's agent is probably having a long conversation with LSU this week, most likely, because that one feels too perfect to not happen. For Florida, am I right that I saw James Franklin is like not much of a factor down there at Florida? Because that one seemed to be the most likely landing spot for him, but I think I saw that Florida isn't all that interested in Franklin.
No, I think they're still gonna at least pursue the idea, but I doubt that it's gonna happen. I don't know if I see James Franklin fitting Florida very well, but my understanding is that Florida is at least going to entertain the idea, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Nevada Josh on the text line says Brian Kelly to Penn State. Did they just completely rotate all their guys? Kelly goes from LSU to Penn State. James Franklin goes from LSU to Florida. Then Kiffin goes to LSU, and whoever fills in at Ole Miss. I don't know. It's going to be crazy, and the money spent on new coaches may be dwarfed by the money spent on retaining current coaches, right? Like all of these openings, yes, you're going to see the musical chairs happen of this guy goes here and now this job's open and he wants to go there. It's all the chain reaction and the dominoes are already in motion. But the coaches who don't take new jobs might actually get paid more than the coaches who do. I would guess Clark Lee is going to get a raise from this because the success that Vanderbilt's having is going to draw interest from other big name programs. I would guess Vandy is going to have to extend him and pay him a little bit more. I would think that the two big group of five, the American coaches, and you can honestly put Ryan Silverfield there from Memphis too, along with Alex Golish and John Summerall. Those guys are going to be popular names throughout the coaching stratosphere. James Franklin is still out there. Lane Kiffin going to be rumored anywhere. It's going to be crazy, and I don't know how it's all going to sort itself out. I've got my Virginia Tech Hokies are still out there looking for a coach. It feels like they're every firing that happens makes that job way less important. And it's now been open for about a month and a half. I don't know where they're going to go, but likely have to wait for all these dominoes to fall. And maybe Shane Beamer after they lost again to Alabama on Saturday, blew that game. Maybe his seat starts warming up and wants to go back to his alma mater in Virginia Tech. Now another SEC job is open. It's I don't know what to expect, and I would guess there's going to be more changes coming. Like, this isn't going to be the end of coaches getting fired this year, but having LSU, Florida, and Penn State all open at the same time is going to lead to a whole lot of chaos over the next 6 months.
Oh no, this isn't done happening. But it's the thing with Brian Kelly is you when you take a job like at LSU where the standard is different than most places. One, you have to win, and that speaks for itself because LSU, if you don't think it's the best job in the country, it's a top 5 job in the country. And two, when you go to LSU, the L stood for losses this year, but actually the L stands for Louisiana. You have to be able to embrace Louisiana. Ed Orgeron did a fantastic job of that, but because he didn't win, he was fired 20 months after winning a national championship because the season were so bad after that. But Brian Kelly, you didn't win and you didn't embrace Louisiana. So this was bound to happen, and it is a mess right now.
Brian Kelly tried to. Me and my family, they tried to embrace Louisiana. Jeremy in Clarksville says Brian Kelly to Florida, just need to tweak the accent. Yeah, I would guess Brian Kelly goes back up north. I think that makes sense. I don't know if Penn State would be like Penn State. They're going to be shooting higher than Brian Kelly. A guy who just got fired probably isn't going to go over well in Happy Valley. But Brian Kelly could go back up north. He was great at Cincinnati. He was good at Notre Dame. Nevada Josh says LSU still owes him $49 million. So I would guess he has that same clause that James Franklin has of
he does.
He's got to go find another job and take some of that money off the books. But I would guess he goes back up north. I don't know specifically what jobs might open up there, but I think that fits his personality and his culture a little bit more than down in the deep South in Baton Rouge. But I did not expect him to get fired yesterday. Like, I knew it was getting bad, and I thought at the end of the year, but firing him after losing to a top 5 team seems a little hasty. But when it's time, it's time. Excuse me. I did see I saw a report that they were collecting the buyout funds in the suites in the second half of Saturday's game, like going around to all the boosters and saying, hey, how much can we count on you for? Crazy how fast things can change in college football, especially. And LSU now open. I am all in on the Lane train going to LSU. I think that makes the most sense. But then you got Ole Miss open, which is an attractive job too. The musical chairs are going to keep on going probably into the spring because, as we mentioned, every single job that gets filled, another one opens up. And that domino effect is going to keep on going. And whoever's at the end of it, likely somewhere in the group of 5, is going to get left holding the bag because you'll get to a point where your coach left to go to another job and you've got to go find someone after a lot of guys have already locked into the new year with their current school. So it's going to be a mess. And LSU, Florida, Penn State, all open at the same time. I don't know if you can believe everything you hear over the next few months because there's going to be a lot of smoke. But as these jobs get filled in, the landscape of college football is certainly going to shift. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Again, 3 straight Sundays where a major college football job has opened up. James Franklin, after losing 3 straight, let go at Penn State 2 weeks ago. Billy Napier feels like his seat has been hot for about a decade, even though he hasn't been in Florida for that long. And he finally gets let go last weekend. And then the shocker yesterday, Brian Kelly was fired after losing back-to-back games with LSU to Vanderbilt and to Texas A&M. We'll see what happens. Going to be a ton of speculation over the next few weeks. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. I am in Memphis today. It is almost college basketball season, as the season is a week away today, actually, the opening of the college basketball season. And we got an exhibition tonight, Vandy women's basketball in Memphis to take on the Memphis Tigers in the Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic, followed by Arkansas's men's team taking on Memphis's men's team. Coach Calipari making his return to the Bluff City. I'll give you a little preview of what you could hear or see on the game tonight with Vandy women and the Memphis Tigers coming up after this, and we'll wrap up the show. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Monday, final segment on this Monday, I should say, up here in the hotel in Memphis. I will be back in studio tomorrow, so I apologize if the audio quality hasn't been as good here on the road. We will fix that moving forward when I do have to do these shows on the road. But we'll be back in studio tomorrow. Nick Frazier going to join us for Tony Tuesdays, and we will have plenty to talk about across the NFL. The Titans, the Preds have their final game of their homestand coming up tomorrow, so we'll talk some Smashville as well. Good stuff today from everybody on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 if you have any final thoughts for us before we hand things over to Chase and Big Joe coming up at noon. I did want to give a little preview here of the Vandy women's basketball season. For those of you who don't know, I do the broadcast on the radio for Vandy women's basketball. This will be my 4th year, and you can listen into all those games on 94.9 The Fan, including tonight, Vandy playing in the Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic against Memphis. That is a 5:15 pregame, 5:30 tip over on 94.9 The Fan. So I implore you to tune in, whether that's with me or on ESPNU on TV. This is a fun team to watch. Shea Ralph in her 5th season, and Michaela Blakes is the one who gets all the headlines. Parker playing Dirks Bentley, coming back in from break there. He was at College Game Day. Michaela was featured on College Game Day as well. The SEC Freshman of the Year and All-American as a freshman. She had 2 games scoring 53 plus in her freshman year. So excited to see her start her sophomore campaign, not officially tonight, but for the first time in the national spotlight. And lots of exciting pieces around her too. Sasha Washington back in the fold after missing last season. You bring in 2 transfers from SEC teams with Jacqueline Wenentanda and Aaliyah Del Rosario. Justine Passat, former Tennessee Lady Vol, former 5-star recruit in her 3rd season at Vanderbilt, looking to take a step. And then a freshman, Aubrey Galvin. Keep an eye on her. If you're a Vandy fan out there, I'm excited to watch her play tonight. Reminds me a little bit of Jason Williams, White Chocolate, the way she passes the ball, just like the ability to see things that other people don't and execute to get the ball in the hands of her teammates. So I'm excited to see them play tonight. Again, 5:15 pregame, 5:30 tip. Parker, just in general here, I cannot believe college basketball season is already here. Like, I understand that March was a long time ago, but football starts, and I always feel like I've got 2 months until the season starts, and then boom, we're here. And crazy that I'll be on the air tonight calling women's basketball for the first time since March.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting time of year. I actually sat down and watched Tennessee play Duke in an exhibition game last night on ESPN2. So right around the corner, it actually starts next weekend officially. So yeah, an exciting time of year. I think we have the sports equinox today as well.
Yes, we do. You got all 4 major sports on at the same time. We got Monday Night Football, we got the World Series, got hockey, got basketball. It's a great time of the year for sports. It's a busy time of the year for sports, but I am excited to get over there. Games at FedEx Forum tonight, so in an NBA arena, and we'll see if how Vandy can come out of the gates. Again, that game televised on ESPNU. You can listen in with me on 94.9 The Fan. From 5:15 pregame, 5:30 tip-off. Quickly, wanted to go to the YouTube chat, which has kind of been on a mind of its own today, just talking amongst themselves, talking about Cliff Kingsbury. And I don't know how I would feel about Cliff Kingsbury, and maybe this is a topic for tomorrow with Nick Frazier about kind of just a vibe check on some of these head coaching candidates for the Titans. Kingsbury is one of those that I don't think it'd be a bad hire, but I think I'd go with other guys with similar qualifications over him. Maybe because of the ties they have. Arthur Smith, obviously, ties to the Titans organization, being here through 4 different coaching staffs. Matt Nagy has the ties with Mike Borgonzi. Maybe that makes me feel more comfortable that they could come in and adapt the vision that this front office wants and that this team needs. But I don't know. I'm not fully on the Cliff Kingsbury train, but I also don't think it'd be a horrible hire if they went out and got him.
It's so hard for me to say that I'm on the Kingsbury train because, to be honest, I'm not. The fact that he was a failed head coach both in college and the NFL scares me desperately. I think you need more of a proven winner for the Titans. I'm sick of the Titans taking chances on people. And there are some that are just great coordinators. I think Josh McDaniel is the perfect example of that. Great coordinator, failed head coach. I believe the same thing about Kingsbury.
Yeah, and I could see that. Joe on the YouTube chat says Cliff has play calling experience plus head coaching experience and has recently developed a young quarterback, checks every box. I could see it. And I think it's just like you're saying, Parker, he has failed as a head coach both times. And the YouTube chat is having the conversation of, was it more about Cliff Kingsbury or was it more that Kyler Murray was never going to be an elite quarterback? I don't know. But I would put him further down on the list. I also don't think it would be a disaster of a hire. I think it would be fine. I think that's something we'll talk about with Nick Frazier tomorrow. I'll make sure to write that down. But Brian Callahan's been gone for 2 weeks now. 2 weeks ago today, he was fired, and all these names get thrown out there. Let's try and shuffle and organize how we feel about these different candidates, because there's so many names that are getting thrown out, so many more that will be thrown out throughout the rest of the season before the Titans actually are able to start interviewing some guys in December and into January. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Last call for phones if you got any final thoughts. It's been a fun show today, Parker. I hope everything went well on your end with me out here. I promise I will have a better mic next time we do one of these. I don't think there's another one for at least a couple of weeks. So, but hopefully everything sounded good on your end, Parker.
Not a single issue today.
Great.
Not a single issue
that.
today.
We love that. It's been a fun show. Appreciate everybody interacting today, whether that's in the YouTube chat or on our phone lines. Plenty more to react to with the Titans tomorrow, and of course around the college football world. Vanderbilt, Tennessee, both right in the thick of the college football playoff race with just about a month to go in the regular season. Again, tune in tonight, 94.9 The Fan. I'll be on the air calling a women's basketball exhibition for Vanderbilt taking on Memphis. Again, 94.9 The Fan, 5:15 pregame. That'll do it for us. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next here on 102.5 The Game.